the legend of the phoenix all ends with beginnings. What keeps the planet spinning? The force from the beginning.
Hey everyone, welcome to the fourth installment of the Stand Up and Vote Trivia Show, a game show about voting hosted by Zoomies and Voto Latino to show you why your voice and your vote matters and how you can use them to impact the issues you care about. I'm Camille from Voto Latino, coming to you live from DC.
And I'm Danny, also from Voto Latino, also coming to you from Washington, D.C. We're excited to be hosting today, stoked to be partnering with Zoomies again this year to continue to help inspire and activate your community to stand up and vote for the issues that matter to you.
We have two special guest contestants who will be joining us to compete today. Today's trivia will be about immigration in the U.S. and how your vote impacts it. Throughout our history and today, immigrants have contributed to the economy, culture, and health of the U.S. For many of us, our parents, relatives, and friends may be immigrants. You may have even immigrated yourself. Throughout today's show, we want to remind you that fixing our broken immigration system starts with voting. When we vote, we can send a loud and clear message that we want our leaders to fix policy and treat immigrants with the respect, dignity, and safety they are due. With that being said, on today's topic, I'm here to remind you that for every question our contestants answer correctly today, you all will win Zoomies Stash Points. Each contestant will have 2 lifelines to ask you all for help if they run into trouble. Hit the chat to help them out when the time comes.
After the trivia show, we'll be answering your questions about voting. So remember to drop your questions in the chat and we'll answer as many we have time for. Before we jump in, let's get real first. Many of us are probably going to be voting by mail this November. Do yourself a favor, request your absentee ballot today. Don't wait until the last minute. Go to vote.org/absentee ballot to request your absentee ballot now. 34 states allow you to request an absentee ballot with no excuse. Let's be honest, a raging global pandemic should be enough of an excuse for all of us to vote by mail. Request your ballot today, fill it out early, and mail it back early to be sure that your vote is counted. And if you're not already registered to vote, you can head over to zoomies.com/standup or votolatino.org right now to get registered.
And speaking of being counted, if you or your household hasn't already filled out the census, you still have time to be counted. That deadline has been moved to September 30th. Go to 2020census.gov. It literally takes less than 5 minutes to fill out. The census is super important. When you get counted in the census, you help your community get its fair share of more than $675 billion per year in federal funding. This funding is spent on schools, hospitals, roads, public works, and other really important programs. Businesses use census data to decide where to build factories, offices, and stores, and this creates jobs too. Despite what you may have heard, there's no citizenship question on the 2020 census. If you're under 18 or live with your family, ask your parents if they filled it out, and if they haven't, tell them they need to do it and why it's important. Again, visit 2020census.gov to get that done. All right, well, let's get in and welcome our contestants.
Our first contestant is Louie Lopez from Cons. How you doing, Louie? Thanks for joining us.
Pretty good. How are you?
Where are you joining us from? There's a nice scenic background behind you.
I'm in Hawthorne, California.
Nice.
Yeah.
Our second contestant is Shelby Solomon from Zoomies. Thank you so much for joining us, Shelby.
Thank you for having me.
And then
Where are you joining us from?
I'm at my
should
house
I
in
enter
Pittsburgh,
studio
PA.
mode?
Awesome. Shelby, I'll ask you this question first, but I'd love for you and Louie to answer one question before we begin. Why is voting important to you at both the local and national level?
Voting is important so we can make our voices be heard. Everything that's going on in the world right now literally is sitting on our shoulders, and it's our time and our opportunity to make a difference in what's happening and take back power and make sure that we can make a difference in our future.
That was so well said. Louie, what about you?
I mean, obviously there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world, so to make a change, I guess, gotta get more people to vote.
For sure. All right, so we're gonna dig in right now. We're gonna alternate between the two of you to ask questions. Louie, the first question will go to you, and most of the questions are multiple choice. Don't forget, I want to remind you all again, you have 2 lifelines that you can ask the audience. So if you don't know the answer, call a lifeline and the audience will drop what answer they think is correct in the chat. And a reminder to our audience, every question our contestants answer correctly, we'll drop a code in the chat that you can redeem for stash points. All right, Louie, first question to you. It's a multiple choice question. How many immigrants passed through Ellis Island between the years 1892 and 1954? Was it A, 1 million, B, 5 million, C, 12 million, or D, 24 million?
I'm gonna go with B.
B, 5 million? That's unfortunately incorrect. The correct answer is 12 million. Ellis Island, it's a federally owned island in New York Harbor that was the US's busiest immigrant inspection station up until that year, 1954. If your family has European ancestry, chances are that your relatives came through Ellis Island at some point.
All right. Good to know. Good to know.
All right, Shelby, next question to you. What was the largest group that immigrated to the US in 1960? Was it A, Canadians, B, Italians, C, Germans, or D, Mexicans?
Italians, and I only know that because I'm Italian.
That is correct. Zoomy stash points to everyone. Italy was the top country of origin in 1960. Italy accounted for almost 13% of all immigrants, followed by Germany, which was about 10%, and Canada, which was 9%. Yeah. All right, Louie, next question to you. We have some history questions right now, so you definitely use a lifeline if you don't know the answer to this question. In what year was the Immigration and Naturalization Act signed into law? This law abolished an earlier quota system based on national origin. It was a really racist law, to say the least. Here are the options. A, 1948, B, 1960, C, 1965, or D, 1982.
I'm gonna go with C.
That's correct. Staff points.
There we go.
Yeah, nice. All right, I believe the scores are 1-1 right now.
Nice.
Shelby, next question to you.
All right.
So prior to 1965, when that act passed, which 3 countries made up 70% of all immigrants to the US? Was it A, Ireland, Germany, and the UK, B, Mexico, India, and China, C, Greece, Italy, and Spain, or D, Bosnia, Eritrea, or Palau?
Okay, I think I'm going to use one of my audience shout outs for this one.
All right. Audience lifeline again. Here's the question for the audience. So prior to 1965, which 3 countries made up 70% of all immigrants to the US? Was it A, Ireland, Germany, and the UK, B, Mexico, India, and China, C, Greece, Italy, and Spain, or D, Bosnia, Eritrea, or Palau? All right, we're getting some comments. And it's a mix.
They're not making it easy.
I see some A's, I see some B's, a D, a C.
I think I'm going to go with A.
That's correct. Stash points for everyone. Like we said, that system that was created before 1965 really just favored white people, mostly from Northern Europe, for our immigration. And a fun fact, none of the countries we listed for option D even existed before the year 1992. All right, next question to you, Louie. What does the acronym DACA stand for? Is it A, Defend Against Children Action, B, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, C, designated areas of community activity, or D, dope-ass Cali artists?
I want to say D, but it's probably definitely not that. So I'm gonna go with A.
So the correct answer is actually B. It's deferred action for childhood arrivals. DACA has been so powerful for the people it's protected. It's shown to increase the wages and labor force for DACA eligible immigrants and reduce the number of undocumented immigrant households in the US. We'll touch on DACA more throughout this conversation, but yeah, again, the correct answer was deferred action for childhood arrivals.
Nice.
All right, question for you, Shelby. What does DAPA stand for? DAPA, I guess? I've actually never heard that as an acronym said before. Is it A, Deferred Action for Parents of Americans, B, Determined Activity for Permanent Addresses, C, Destination Affixed Permission Affirmation, or D, Dope-Ass Philly Artists?
Not D, so I think I'm going to go with A.
A is correct.
Nice.
Coming for you, Louie.
Coming to hot.
So DAPA, or DAPA, as I said, was an Obama administration plan to help qualifying illegal immigrants avoid immediate removal and to find a chance to apply for residency. This really never got off the ground, though. A lot of states filed lawsuits against it, arguing that DAPA violates the Constitution and federal statutes. Ultimately, a court decision blocked the program, and the US Supreme Court had a split decision on this program. So it's no longer in place, but yes, that is what the acronym stands for. All right, and this is the last question coming from me. Danny will take the lead after this, but Louie, this question's for you. So since 2012, how many people have been protected from deportation under DACA? Is it A, 30,000, B, 150,000, C, 500,000, or D, 825,000 people?
Can I get a life?
For sure.
All
All
right.
right, viewers, this question's for you. I'll read it again. So since 2012, how many people have been protected from deportation under DACA? Is it A, 30,000, B, 150,000, C, 500,000, or D, 825,000?
I'm gonna go with C.
So that's actually incorrect also. But I mean, this is the good thing to be an incorrect answer, right? Because 825,000 people is way more than 500,000 people.
Yeah.
Since 2012, this number of people who came to America in the US in 1999 have been protected from deportation and able to work under DACA.
Sorry.
All right, so we're gonna check in really quick. Couch, do you have any idea how many lifelines are left? 1 and 1, cool. So this next question is for Shelby. How many eligible voters in 2020 are immigrants? Is it A, 3 out of every 10, B, 1 out of every 10, C, 2 out of every 13, and D, 5 out of every 14. I can say those again since
Yeah, I'm not good with numbers.
Okay, so 3 out of 10, 1 out of 10, 2 out of 13, or 5 out of 14?
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10 is correct. More than 23 million naturalized immigrants in the United States are eligible to vote, and so that's about 1 in 10% of eligible voters are immigrants, and that is a all-time high for this election.
Oh yeah.
How's that score?
The score right now is 4-1.
Looks good. Looks good.
But you have a chance to pick it up right now. You can cut the deficit in half. In which 3 states, Louis, did the immigrant electorate grow the fastest between 2000 and 2018? A, California, Texas, and Georgia. B, North Carolina, Washington, and Florida. C, Georgia, Minnesota, and North Carolina. Or D, Oregon, Montana, and Massachusetts.
Go with A.
A, California, Texas, and Georgia is not correct. The correct answer is C, Georgia, Minnesota, and North Carolina. All three have seen their numbers rise with immigrant eligible voters, and those numbers have tripled between 2000 and 2018. Georgia's immigrant population increased by 193% during those years, which is the fastest in the nation. And the South is actually seeing the highest growth of immigrant populations in the country.
All right.
Shelby, you can continue to be winning. Immigrants are 4 times more likely than children of native-born parents to have less than a high school degree, but they are also almost twice as likely to have a blank: associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, or doctorate.
I want to believe that they could take it all the way to the top, so we're going to go for doctorate.
Doctorate is correct. I'm going to reread that question with the blank filled in. Immigrants are 4 times more likely than children of native-born parents to have less than a high school degree, but are almost twice as likely to have a doctorate. So it shows the diversity of the immigrant community in our country. Of all the foreign-born people in the United States with a master's or doctorate, 58% are from Asian countries, while 51% of all foreign-born people with a high school degree or less are from Mexico, according to the Brookings Institute. Louie, in total, how much do undocumented immigrants contribute in state and local taxes every year? Is it 0, $10.3 million, $5.5 billion, or $11.6 billion? Again, this is undocumented immigrants.
Undocumented?
Yeah.
Let's go with C.
D is not correct.
All right.
The correct answer is $11.6 billion, which includes $7 billion in sales tax, which pays for highway repair, state courts, police, firefighters. That also includes $1.1 billion in state income taxes and $3.6 billion in property taxes. And all that money funds things like public schools, garbage collection, any services that you require and rely on that you don't actively pay for out of pocket. Comes out of taxes that we all pay for, including undocumented immigrants. And undocumented immigrants actually keep a lot of government programs afloat because they pay into them, but they're not able to claim benefits. So Social Security is one of those examples. All right, Shelby, next question. Immigrants added an estimated blank to the US economy in 2016. $50 billion, $500 billion, $1 trillion, or $2 trillion?
What was the biggest number that you said?
2 trillion.
2 trillion.
2 trillion is right. Immigrants added an estimated $2 trillion to the U.S. economy, the U.S. GDP in 2016. Immigrants are overrepresented in the labor force and also boost productivity through innovation and entrepreneurship. Okay, I just want to check the score, and it's the same. Louis, compared with all Americans, U.S.-born children of immigrants are more likely to go to college, less likely to live in poverty, and equally likely to be homeowners. True or false?
Let's go. Wait, say that again. Sorry.
Compared with all Americans, U.S.-born children of immigrants are more likely to go to college, less likely to live in poverty, and equally likely to be homeowners.
True.
It is true.
Nice.
36% of U.S.-born children of immigrants are college graduates, 5% above the national average. 11% of adult U.S.-born children of immigrants live in poverty, below the national average of 13%, and 64% are homeowners, which is just 1% below the national average. Shelby, back to you. Which companies were founded by immigrants or the children of immigrants? Amazon, Apple, Google, or all of the above?
All of the above.
It is all of the above. Steve Jobs was the son of a Syrian immigrant. Jeff Bezos' stepfather was a Cuban immigrant, and Sergey Brin, founder of Google, was born in Russia. And in 2017, 30% of all new businesses were started by immigrants. Louis, which of these celebrities was an undocumented immigrant? Sofia Vergara, Kumail Nanjiani, Dave Matthews, or 21 Savage?
What was the first one? Sofia
Vergara.
Yeah, we got that one.
Yeah, it was actually 21 Savage. 21 Savage was raised in Atlanta but was born in London, and even as a rich superstar, found it difficult to get his immigration papers. In an interview, he said, "It felt impossible. It got to the point where I just learned to live without it. I still don't have it. I'm 26 and I'm rich. So I just learned to live without it. Even if you have money, it's not easy." So let's check the score. With 7-2, Shelby. That is the end of our question. So congratulations to Shelby for winning today's
Barely won
show.
Thank you.
Thank you to our audience for helping our contestants out and for tuning in. And I'll turn it back over to Camille.
Yeah, thank you all again for joining today. We have questions that you all asked on Zoomies via Instagram yesterday, so I'll run through some of those, and they're open for all 4 of us to talk through and answer. Once we get through these questions, we're very happy to take questions from you all, so drop any questions that you'd like us to answer, whether it be about immigration, voting, taking the census, whatever it may be, and we will do that. So here's the first one we received via Instagram. Can you work in the US while waiting for a green card?
Shelby, Louis, do you guys want to take that one?
I'll let you guys handle it.
Yeah.
So it depends on what kind of visa you have. While you're waiting for your green card, you can work if you have a valid work visa or with an employment authorization document. If you are waiting for a green card and you are unsure if you can work, talk to an immigration lawyer about your specific situation. The next question asked by Code One on Instagram: is taking in too many immigrants bad for the country? No. Immigrants contribute more in tax revenue than they take in government benefits. They disproportionately work in essential fields and professions, especially now during COVID. And immigrants boost what would otherwise be a significantly aging and declining American population and workforce. So basically, like, Americans are having fewer kids and are getting older and older and relying on healthcare services. So without immigrants coming in and kind of replenishing our population and our workforce, we would find it hard to fill all the jobs that are currently needed.
Another question we received on Instagram, asked by Arena Just Love: why do people immigrate?
Any ideas?
To change their life, to better their life, to have opportunity. Yeah.
For sure. I feel like there's so many ways to answer that question, and it's all, dependent on someone's situation. But yeah, to better their lives, maybe search for new opportunities. Yeah, I think that's a sufficient answer for Arena Just Love. I hope we answered your question.
So another question from Instagram: what are the jobs that Trump talks about immigrants taking? So immigrants actually create more jobs than native-born Americans. Immigrants are actually more likely to start businesses than native-born Americans, and the average immigrant-owned business creates 11 new jobs for the economy. And I think we said before that 30% of all businesses are started by immigrants. So do the math. That's a lot of new jobs that are being created actively by immigrants. This narrative that immigrants steal jobs from Americans is just not true.
Here's a really important question asked by Jocelyn 33. So how long do families get separated for? Is it temporary or forever? I don't know if anyone would like to touch on family separation and what that looks like. Yeah, so Under the current administration we have, it's really like unclear how long people are being held in detention and separated from their families, which I personally think is a really big problem. I believe there's like conflicting reports coming from White House and immigrant activists about the time that families are separated for. But with that being said, to tie it into the broader theme of this stream today, we really need to vote to put pressure on our elected officials to ensure that people's basic human rights aren't being violated, taken away. I don't know if anyone wants to touch on family separation a bit more.
I think it's just hard for us to put into perspective what that's even like, already being here in this country. And it should be a wake-up call enough for us to, the fact that we don't know how long these families are separated for and the fact that they're being held is enough for us to go out and vote and try to change this. We shouldn't even have to ask that question because it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, our next question. Does immigration really cause crime like many Americans think? What's your guys' instincts say?
Absolutely not.
Immigrants commit significantly less crime than native-born Americans. In a study in 2015 in Texas, the criminal conviction rate for native-born people was about 1,800 out of every 100,000. For undocumented immigrants, that rate was 750 out of 100,000. And for authorized immigrants, it was 300 out of 100,000. So native-born people are 6 times more likely to be convicted for crimes than authorized immigrants, and more than 50% as likely to be convicted of crime as undocumented immigrants. If you're here and your situation is not as stable, you're probably much less likely to look to get kicked out by committing a crime. So that's another false narrative about immigration that we hear from the top of our government sometimes.
Here's another good question asked by Zumi's Capital Mall. What resources are there for folks who seek asylum, and what does it even mean to seek asylum? So asylum seekers are removing themselves of situations of persecution. They're also known as refugees. They're defined as people who are outside of their own country's territory, owing to fear of persecution on protected grounds. So asylum seekers, just really are coming to the US or going to other countries for their own safety.
Okay, and then our last question from Instagram before we answer the questions that you guys are posting in the chat. Why are immigrants being arrested if they just want a better life in the US? That's a very good question. So entering the United States without authorization is classified as a misdemeanor. Obviously, a lot of people who have been arrested doing that are being treated much worse than you would for a standard misdemeanor. But it should be, there's an important distinction where entering the United States illegally is a misdemeanor, but the act of just being inside the United States without authorization is not a criminal violation, it's a civil violation. So the way it's supposed to work is that someone who is caught in the United States undocumented should not be arrested. They should be presented with a civil citation to appear before an immigration judge, and then their case gets handled that way. But as this push for harsher immigration laws has taken over, different states and municipalities are passing harsher and harsher laws, which is really sad. So now we're going to take some questions from you guys who are watching live, and answer as many as we can while we still have time.
Yeah, but before we do that, I'd like to ask our contestants, why is immigration important to you, and why is it important to create more inclusive and fair immigration system here in the U.S.?
That's the thing. It's about fairness.
Yeah.
I mean, my family immigrated from Italy, and if they hadn't, I don't know, what they were going through there, or if they were, but either way, they wanted to seek a better life here in America. So that's what they did, and they were able to. And taking that right away from people, I think, is just insane. Especially the fact that it's a crime to be here, just seeking better opportunity, jobs, whatever it may be, is insane. Everyone deserves the right to be a part of our culture and make this more of a cultural melting pot.
And same for me, like my family came from Guatemala, and thankful for that because I'm here and a lot of my family is here. So, yeah.
Yeah, my dad's family left Europe to escape the Holocaust. My mom's family came over here from Cuba after the revolution, and they've both found better lives here and been able to make a life here for themselves and start a family. So it's an important issue. If you don't know people who have, if you don't have people in your family who are immigrants, people who are immigrants, and you're just like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Have better lives.
Exactly.
So now we're going to dive into some questions that you guys have put in the chat. Camille, when is voting available?
That's a great question. So November 3rd, I hope it's in everyone's calendars. That is the date for our general election where you can vote, for the presidential race, state races, and local races. A great resource that you can check out is zoomies.com/standup. There's a state-by-state breakdown of where and how you can vote. And I'm saying that as like a broad blanket statement, right? Because voting looks different in every single state. I'm originally from Texas. I know the deadline to get registered to vote in Texas is October 5th. And if you do want to submit a mail-in ballot, an excuse is needed. And unfortunately, COVID can't be cited as an excuse as of now in Texas to vote by mail. But, there are certain dates in each state that you need to request a mail-in ballot and submit it. Really want to stress that if your state allows for vote by mail, it's a very safe way to vote right now during COVID. If your state doesn't allow for vote by mail, consider voting early. Wait times will be shorter, lines will be shorter. So November 3rd is the day that you must cast a ballot in person, but again, visit zoomies.com/standup to learn more state-by-state information on if you can cast a mail-in ballot or how you can vote early in your state.
Perfect. This one's for the whole group. Whoever knows, just jump in. What's the difference between getting your citizenship and having a green card?
Green cards are temporary, right?
They can be.
They can. Okay. That was my guess.
So a green card is for someone who is living in the United States not as a citizen, but this is their primary location of residence. So you can work in the United States, you can leave and come back. There's a couple other benefits you get from a green card. You cannot vote. Voting is restricted to citizens. And so that is one of the major benefits of attaining your citizenship, is that you can vote and have a say in our government.
And a reminder to our audience to drop questions in the chat, whether they be about immigration, voting, even just things you want to ask us. We're here to answer them.
Can you vote if you have dual citizenship? Does anyone know the answer? So you can vote in the United States with dual citizenship if one of your citizenships is the United States. The U.S. doesn't officially recognize dual citizenship, so you would need to have American citizenship in order to vote in America. You have dual citizenship, even though it's not recognized by the U.S. government, it could be recognized by another government and possibly get you some sort of benefits there. Does voting get you picked for jury duty? Who knows? No? Okay, I'll take it. So signing up or registering to vote will put you in the pool to get selected for jury duty, possibly, which some people have say is a reason to not register to vote. If you have a driver's license, if you have a state ID or a local ID or anything like that, any official document that comes from your local government, that will also enter you into the pool to possibly be a juror in your community. So registering to vote, yes, could cause you to get called for jury duty, but so does getting a driver's license. So register to vote. I've been on a jury, it's not that bad. And yeah.
So why do people have to be 18 to vote? Does anyone know that answer or have an opinion about it?
You guys got it.
I don't actually know the historical reason why it's 18. I'm ashamed. I know there is a big push to lower the voting age to 16. I think it's an interesting movement because there is some disparity in, like, if you are 90 years old and you're voting, you may not live long enough to see your vote kind of take effect and the policies that you're voting for take effect, but younger people are going to have to deal with those. So I understand the push for younger people to be able to vote. And I think it's an interesting proposition.
For sure. And I wanted to say, like, if you're under 18 and you're bummed out that you can't vote, there's a lot of other things you can do that really, like, can help your community. I'll go ahead and plug what we do at Voto Latino, but if you go to our website, votolatino.org, and hit the Get Involved tab, we'd love to have you join us in text banking. So we're reaching out using an app, so it's like not on your own phone number, but we're trying to reach out to 1 million people before the general election to be sure that they, know how to request a mail-in ballot in their state. They are aware the election's even happening, so we could always use the volunteer power. And I also do want to stress, if you're under 18 and you're still living at home, ask whoever you're living with, like, if you've filled out the census yet. And if not, take people directly to 2020census.gov and fill it out and be sure that you're counted.
And another benefit of volunteering for Voto Latino is you get to work with Camille, which is awesome.
Thanks, Sammy.
Okay, so I think this is going to be our last question. It's a really important one. Can you be counted in the census if you have a green card? Camille, go.
You can. You do not have to be a U.S. citizen to be counted in the census. With that being said, it is so important that you're counted, because with a correct, count of how many people do live in the U.S., we're able to get the amount of federal funding that's needed to provide resources to every single person that's here in our country. So the answer is yes, you can be counted.
Yeah, the census counts every single person within the borders of the United States, whether they're a citizen, whether they have a green card, whether they are undocumented. Every single person in the United States, per the Constitution, needs to be counted in the census. There is no citizenship question on the census like they tried to do, and the information that you provide on the census cannot be shared, by law, cannot be shared with any other government agency. So if you are undocumented, if anyone in your family or your friends are undocumented, encourage them to take the census. It will provide more resources for your community, and it cannot be used against them. And by law, the government has to count every single person inside the United States. So that was a great question. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for asking insightful questions, whether it was via our chat or Instagram. And I want to give a huge thank you to Louie from Cons and Shelby from Zoomies for joining us. Do either of you have last words for our audience?
Please
Get out
vote.
Please. Awesome. Well, we hope that you all learned a thing or two about the state of immigration and how important it is that we're all counted in this year's census. Again, if you haven't filled it out, don't know if your parents have, ask them to go to 2020census.gov to complete it, to be counted, to bring really critical federal money to your community. 2020, and I can't say it enough, is such an important year. We need to register to vote and actually show up this election. Let's make sure that every single one of us does our part, that we educate our peers and demand for our voices to be heard. That's really how we create real change. Keep listening and keep learning.
So if you like the show, you want to support Voto Latino, so help us register more voters and activate the community. On Zoomy Stash right now, you can donate your Zoomy Stash points to VL. Look for the Donate to Voto Latino button, and for every 10,000 points that you guys put towards us, Zoomies will give us $5 to register more people to vote in November. And we mentioned at the beginning of the show, but do not wait to request your absentee ballot in order to vote. Go to vote.org/absentee-ballot to request your absentee ballot now. I'll repeat that, vote.org/absentee-ballot. You don't want to wait in line. You don't want to have to deal with masks and social distancing. You fill your ballot out at home and you mail it back early. You can make sure your vote is counted and you don't have to choose between your health with COVID and voting. So it's simple, it's safe, easy way to vote. Despite what the president may say, it's totally fine. You can do it. But before you can request an absentee ballot, you have to be registered to vote. So to get registered to vote and learn more about how you can take action, go to zoomies.com/standup. Also at votolatino.org. If you're interested in volunteering with Voto Latino, especially getting to work with Camille on all the amazing things he does every day, text the word volunteer to 73179, and you'll learn about our voting-related volunteer opportunities in your area. So remember, guys, get registered, use your voice, wear your mask, and go vote. Thanks, everyone.
Lucky, we're up all night to get lucky. 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 We're up all night to get lucky.
Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, trash it, change it, mail, upgrade it, charge it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it, write it, cut it, paste it, save it, load it, check it, quick rewrite it, plug it, play it, burn it, rip it, drag it, drop it, zip unzip it, lock it, fill it, call it, find it, view it, code it, jump and lock it, surf it, scroll it, pose it, click it, cross it, crack it, switch, update it, name it, read it, tune it, print it, scan it, send it, fax, rename it, touch it, bring it, pay it, watch it, turn it, leave it, start, format rewrite it. Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, trash it, change it, mail, upgrade it, charge it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it, write it, cut it, paste it, save it, load it, check it, quick